always ask me, what's the one aspect that guarantees love between two people? What really makes two people compatible? And the truth is, it's very complicated. And there's a lot. In this video, I'm going to go into a lot of different directions. But yeah, it's very, very complex. So in this video, we're going to talk about placements that actually matter in synastry and in composite charts. So we're going to start with the moon, which is the foundation for everything and really the most important. Venus, Mars, obviously, are extremely important for attraction and for love in general. Mercury is, how can you have a good relationship if you can't communicate or make each other even like laugh or have a good mental connection. Then Jupiter, extremely good, important role, and Saturn, extremely important role. And there's a lot of stuff. There's the house overlays. There's the Descendent. We're going to talk about parallels. Have you guys heard someone talk about parallels before? And we're going to talk about Juno, asteroid Juno, like the importance of that. So there's even more than that. So let's just jump right into it, guys. Bear with me. This is a low budget thing, so I have to write down my own timestamps to send to my editor in Peru. So, anyways, let's get into it. Let's start with the moon as the foundation. So, basically, the moon in compatibility, like I just said in the intro, is the most important thing. Some people think like, oh, you're this sun sign, you're that sun sign. No, I'll get into that later too. I'm going to talk about how sun signs can matter, but not really. Anyways, moon is the foundation. So if you have, because moon, it rules the undercurrent. It rules what makes you comfortable, what you need to be happy. So if two people and your daily rhythm. So if two people share that, they share that daily rhythm. If they share the emotional needs, right, then it's a lot easier for them to become friends. And if you can become friends, that's the first step. I think it's probably hard to be in a relationship where you're not friends, right? So we're gonna dive into this, right? But that's kind of how things start. So when you have your moon trine or sextile their moon or conjunct, right, in the same sign, 4 signs away or 2 signs away, it doesn't even have to be the exact the exact angle. You can have if you're a 12-degree Taurus moon and the person you love is a 26-degree Capricorn moon. They're still both in earth signs, so it can be more qualitative like that. Of course, if one was 18 and the other was 21, it would be more poignant. But this is such a big picture concept, and it's such a defining element of the psyche, the moon sign, that it really you shouldn't worry so much logically about if it's like an exact angle. So yeah, that doesn't mean that people who have moon square moon can't work, or moon opposite moon. They can, like the opposites can attract and whatnot, but you want to really, it's a huge advantage to have lunar energies that work well. Now we'll get into other synastry elements or synastry aspects with the moon that can change everything. But just having moon signs that work well with each other is huge. And this can also be sorry, I can't sit comfortably. This could be altered. Like for example, let's say someone has a Pisces moon, and then they're dating someone who has, this is like why you want to get a reading with me for compatibility, right? Because you'd think okay, someone has a Pisces moon, and the next person has a Sag moon, but that person was born when Sag was in Neptune, so they have moon conjunct Neptune. So that would make up for a lot of that square. So in composite charts, which is the combined chart with two people, a well-aspected moon is emotional comfort. So if you have moon trine Jupiter in your composite, or moon trine Jupiter or Venus, or sextile them, there can be a great warmth, right? Even like not many aspects, but then having something like moons, square Saturn, or opposite Uranus, it can it doesn't define, it doesn't mean the relationship won't work. It just means that, like the Saturn one, for example, it's going to take longer to get past the vulnerability stages and whatnot. So, yeah. It's like feeling like someone speaks your emotional language, right? Um, so yeah, and even like I can think of like someone who had a moon square Saturn, and they felt like very emotionally starved all the time. Um, so let's talk about Sun conjunct or trine Moon. So I have to say, okay. So basically, this one is very, very important. If you have your Sun, and we'll talk later about how parallels can be just as important, but basically, like let's say your Sun is 16 Pisces and their Moon is 10 Pisces, right? Or if you're 25-degree Leo Sun and their Moon is 21 Aries. I don't know. It just brings like a natural yin yang energy. So it's very good for French for any kind of synastry. Um, but yeah, especially like romantic. And then the trine has like a very easy flow, and the conjunction, uh, it's just this kind of having the same moon sign, right? Or excuse me, having the sun and moon. There's just a very deep understanding where you really complete each other, very deeply bonded. So you see this a good amount in marriages. So then, moon conjunct Jupiter in synastry. Like this one is one of the best ever. I've experienced it myself. And what I can say is that it's incredible, because the amount of confidence that, and we'll get more into Jupiter later, but Jupiter uplifts whatever it touches. So when it meets the moon, emotions feel very optimistic, positive, hopeful, supported, and the moon person feels very expanded, right? Like they can like fully speak their mind to this person, even if they're someone who's very closed. They feel like every time they come into contact with this person, they're just suddenly in a good mood. And the Jupiter person feels very, generous, very protective, very like grateful, that this person, appreciates them that much. It kind of creates this energy, right? So lots of laughter, resilience and optimism during like difficult, stressful times, emotional optimism. It's just one of the most like, I guess, like filled with joy aspects in any kind of relationship. Like yeah, like my Jupiter in Cancer, I had that one time, and it was really, really good, so like my last video, I thought of some examples, even if I couldn't remember them exactly. I just remember, like just no matter how bad the day was, being lifted up, right? Feeling like a sense of luck being around the person, right? And then one person, yeah, just felt very encouraged by being by the Jupiter person, that and it can really go either way, right? That she really believed that she could do anything. It was like emotional fuel, like a coach. So yeah, so Venus is next we're talking about Venus. So Venus is the love energy, right? So it shows our love language, what we value, what we find beautiful in a partner. And in synastry, Venus aspects are essential for attraction and for affection, for seeing someone as a long-term partner. So the biggest one is like, Venus conjunct Mars, especially if it's the woman's Venus with the man's Mars. That's like game over. Sexual attraction, like boom, not just sexual, just it's just like the real, the yin yang. Of course, like the sun moon is, if it's a woman, if it's a woman's moon, and the woman's moon and the sun, the man's sun, for that one it matters less, but definitely for Venus and Mars, yeah. Yeah, so it's just like the archetypal chemistry, right? Venus feels desired and adored, Mars feels, energized and validated. They come together, they and it's just very magnetic, and it really mirrors that traditional pursuit um, of masculine and feminine. So, and I'm not talking about anything like bi or homosexuality. Like this can all you can kind of filter everything through your own lens, right? Like these could definitely work regardless, right? Because it's more to do with who is what archetype, right? So yeah, so trines and sextiles definitely give a smoother attraction, of Venus and Mars, but it's not as hard hitting as the conjunction. And the squares and opposition, they can bring a love-hate chemistry, which can sometimes be volatile and sometimes not work at all, but sometimes it can work really well. It just depends on how it interacts with everything. But there's some people that think that without any Venus-Mars contacts, attraction either that won't exist, and I'm open for debate on that one because I don't know. I've seen some. I've definitely seen examples where both arguments work, but yeah, where it's impossible unless you have unless you're not going to be attracted to someone unless your Venus and Mars is aspecting something of theirs, and vice versa. They're not going to be attracted to you if their Venus and Mars aren't aspecting something of yours. So yeah, it's one of those ones that just keeps the attraction going. So besides that, I want to talk about Mars and Venus at attraction as a concept. So this is part of what I'm doing in this video is not everything is exactly this one, that one, this one, that one. Hold on a second. Like Jupiter trine this, blah 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 blah. It's different. Like there's some that I need to explain concepts, right? So you don't. So this kind of is what I was saying before, right? It's that you don't need to have like Venus conjunct Mars. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have that. There's other ways to be attracted, and there's a lot of unknown stuff. I've done a lot of compatibility readings, and like I always say this, like the most successful, or like one of the best couples that have been through the most and made it and has such a beautiful life and so in love with each other, all that, they had the most difficult composite and even synastry. They just, if two souls love each other enough, anything can work. Let's be clear about that. So with this whole idea, of needing like Venus and Mars to kind of be activated by something, like it is, some would say like the difficult aspects, the squares and oppositions, can spark that attraction, something stronger, that if it's mixed with, and that's another really important thing, is that there's charts that only have easy aspects and it's all smooth flowing, and then those people either just stay friends or there's no passion, so you probably want a good amount. I mean, if a lot of relationships are about growth, so sometimes like a lot of difficult, like Pluto or eighth house, or I don't know, like something related to the nodes. There's so many elements, right? Things that kind of Chiron. Sometimes you do need to have those elements in there. Saturn, especially, right? Like, because Saturn, we'll talk about later, it's the glue that keeps people together through hard times once they've overcome the initial BS. But so like I said earlier, like for example, like I can think of Mars square Mars, right? Like that is two different, like I think of one couple I did about a year ago where they had like it was very uneven, and it's something I talk about too. It was very uneven on one person's side. Like the girl, like the guy was like aspecting her her Venus, her Mars, like or I guess no, wait. She was aspecting his Venus and his Mars, but her Venus and her, I guess like they were not as intensely, right? Um, More by like kind of far trines than conjunctions, and but then she had like a lot of like incredible um, aspects with him that were really really good for her. And the way it manifested is that she really like loved him and loved being around him. They had like a lot of like Jupiter stuff going on, right? But it was like a slower burn for her. For him, it took them like a long time to kind of, because they had all the stuff you'd want for foundations, for friends, for communication, for all that stuff. But like he was super attracted to her like sexually, like, but for her it just took longer. He had like the um he had like his Venus. He just had like a lot going on, even parallels, and um for her. But like then that Mars actually ended up being very 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 passionate. um so and then like her Venus may have not been may have not been conjuncting or squaring or opposing anything, but it was trine his Jupiter, right? And Chiron. So it ended up kind of working out. um but yeah, like with with a lot of this too, it's it's definitely the trine too. Like I've seen like Mars trine Mars. I've experienced that. Very beautiful. All kinds of combinations, right? um and I forgot to say also, like with the moon stuff, like how Venus conjunct moon can be very beautiful too, right? Just like Jupiter conjunct moon, well, Venus conjunct moon, it's like, well, they can make just make you happy, like they like there's like a colorful association. Like when you're just yourself, like they also do feel like home. And there's just a positive, your emotional nature and who you are is really really related to, so when you're just being yourself and not trying, is really related to like what they value and what they find most attractive in someone. So it's like a hack, like you don't have to like try to be someone you're not that you should do that anyways, but like um that's like the beauty of the moon, right? And then, like I said in my last video, that's probably come out at this time that I made before that, like I gave the story of like me with that, me and one girl I knew for a little bit, whose Pluto was conjunct my moon. Every time we get together, like just whatever, she'd like just out in public, she would start crying, and just like how difficult that can be, right? All right. So no relationship is possible. Like, let's be real. Like, if you can't communicate with someone, if you can't have like a mental connection, if you can't talk through your problems, if you're not interested in the same things, if you can't joke around and like get each other's humor and learn and want to learn from each other and have long conversations and listen to each other, if there's like big communication, like where you just like one person just doesn't get it, and like you're trying to explain it to them but they just can't, they have this paranoia, and it's like, why, like how can you think this, how can you not understand me? Or there's massive anger, and every time that you try to have a talk, there's just these, you think something deep gets triggered and it becomes this explosion. There's so many possibilities, right? Or one person, like if it's Mercury Neptune, thinks the other person's always lying, right? Or that there's some, has like a paranoia about the other person in some way. So basically, Mercury, if you can't communicate, even strong attraction won't last. And I've seen it so many times. And it's not just so obviously you do want to like, yeah, having like a Mercury trine Mercury or Mercury conjunct Mercury, Mercury sextile Mercury, cool, And then there's a lot of it that's just like maturity too. I don't, like in astrology in general, I always have to tell you guys, like, um, any two people can get along and any two people can not get along. It's like, how have you manifested your chart? Have you like manifested like, or each part of your chart, like, have you manifested the highest energy and almost like, you know, overcome the difficulty associated with something in your chart, right? Like you can become something completely different. It's just the potential. So it's important to know that, to not allow astrology to self-limit. And I have a whole video called "Don't Allow Astrology to Self-Limit You," something like that. But yeah, so like bad Mercury can ruin everything, as I said. Um, that kind of energy where you feel like where you speak the same language as that person. You share their sense of humor, even the little things, and you're curious about each other. You want to know about each other's day. You can talk for hours. You want to watch the same shows, which you could say is like more Venus, but you just like, if you even like, you like their voice, like that's a crazy one, right? But like, for example, if you have like I've seen this, like if you have like your Venus conjunct someone's Mercury, you're gonna love their voice. You're gonna find their voice cute or attractive or something like that, right? You're gonna enjoy hearing them, even if they're like whatever. It's not a it's very subjective. So, and Mercury, like Mercury Jupiter, for example, like that. The once again, Jupiter expands everything. So that's going to make that person, the Mercury person, want to talk and open up and talk about all different types of high level concepts and understand themselves in the world better. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Mercury Venus can also be very flirty. Like, yeah, people with that, I've experienced that. Like, it's very flirty, very very playful conversations. Like, and yeah, I've noticed that you tend to think you tend to love their voice and the way they speak. It's like sexy usually, um, if you like the person already. So Mercury with Moon, that is feeling heard, right? Like if like for the Mercury person, um, and kind of like it goes both ways, because like it's almost like that person speaks by emotional language, right? But then um, it's like feeling that gives like an intuitive understanding of each other, where you don't even have to like really like where you can just kind of sense what the person's like saying, the essence of what they're saying, without them even needing to say it. If there's a good aspects of those, and then also the words can soothe emotions and feel and you can feel very heard. So with that said, and there's other good combinations, but bad Mercury, like square Mars, square Neptune, like square Mars, for example, like that can be like the square Pluto, like that can be like those instant explosions. Um, and like Saturn can lead to like being very timid or not opening up, or Pluto can be like different fears that are associated with communicating, and that's also kind of like a triggering energy where a difference in viewing things, right? Um, and it can take a different, like yeah, the Neptune one, like I said, like lots of paranoia, miscommunications, not understanding, not speaking the same language at all, a lot of fog and confusion, projection happening, gaslighting can be with Pluto also. Like there can be like a level of like a psychological warfare that exists. So, this one really explains like why some couples, regardless of like whether they're from the same, have the same first language, or from the same country, um, or not at all, why some never stop talking and others, feel more drained. And when I talk to my therapist, well, I haven't seen my therapist in a long time, but good guy. I asked him a long time ago. I said, like with your clients, blah blah blah. Like I want to ask about and explain, understand some things. And he said that there's four main centers. Um, he said, hold on, I'm gonna write this one down. So he said that there is four main centers, that it's the emotional, like how much you love someone. And this is not astrology. This is like, a therapist. He knows a thing or two about astrology, but it's not his. He's not an astrologer. So so he was like, couples. He works a lot with couples, right? And he was like, couples are lucky if they have. Let me plug in the charger. If they have two, I think he said if they have two of these connections, and this is like balancing on a pillow because I don't have anything else. Okay. So he said first one was emotional, and that's very, a lot of these are like, you can't really like change them. It's like, how much you love someone, right? Like heart chakra. Next was sexual. You can't really change that. Like I feel like attraction in that way. Like maybe some people feel like they can work on it. I don't really think so. I feel like it's kind of primal and it's kind of yes or no, right? It's black or white, at least for me. And but I know everyone's different, right? Regardless, doesn't matter. If that can change for you, then that's a center that can change. Then there's mental. Mental I took as like being able to like what I just said, Mercury, being able to converse, but it's also sense of humor. It's also like being able to like feel like you can talk to this person, and it's a link with the emotional, the heart chakra, because it's like you're able to kind of get through and understand and feel heard by that person and feel like what you think and what you have to say matters, and you can learn together and have good banter, which is so important in day-to-day life, right? You're on the same page with your yeah. And the last one was spirituality, and it wasn't about having like exactly the same spiritual views, like this person has to believe in astrology, has to this and that. I took it more as like spiritual values. Like, I don't know, if my spiritual value is like one spiritual value is I love animals, and I believe in God in my own way. um I would probably, and someone else was like an atheist, well, there probably wouldn't be very good crossover there, right? But like, if they believe in God in their own way, they might not be super into astrology like I am. You see, so he explained those, and I thought it was just an interesting to kind of like think of that through the astrological lens, right? But yeah, the Mercury definitely falls as that communicative one, and I think that a lot of people suffer from that. And you should definitely do compatibility readings with me. I can definitely help you out, because like sometimes just having the awareness that you have something going on can there are remedies to it, right? There is, like, if you have, for example, like a difficult Mercury square Neptune, then you if both people are present in that session, you could be like, look, like, you will probably think that you might project on him, he might say something, or you might say something, and she might think that you're lying, because of this aspect, or she might just have a lot of trouble, a lot of paranoia around, or there might just be a lot of confusion. You might have to like really work hard at speaking in very, very precise terms, even though you guys might be very, very good at the high, there can be that kind of thing done. So yeah, like a friend of mine was just telling me about having like Mercury trine moon, or someone's Mercury trine her moon, and they just like she felt like feels safe telling him everything, and they just talk so much, right? Venus conjunct Jupiter. So now we're talking more about like what's up with Venus, right? Venus conjunct or trine Jupiter is just as good as it gets. One person's Venus conjunct the other person's Jupiter. It's just the two benefics coming together, and it's just pure joy. It's all you can say. Like, everything good possible. It's literally just a beautiful karmic blessing, and it brings playfulness, laughter, optimism, adventures, being adventurous. Like, obviously, like a high level of attraction, a high level of happiness, being interested in each other's artistic tastes. How you dress, then also having like an interest in like in philosophies, and kind of a similar, like it's like a very like they go together really, really well. Very complementary in terms of how they kind of come together in each other's life, and just like some like effortless energy, effortless, not heavy at all, and it's like being able to like see love as fun, not stressful, right? And of course, this it could exist in a chart that has like a ton of other stuff going on that's way more difficult, and kind of be like the joy, the little joy. But yeah. So next, Jupiter. Oh, it says 33. Cool. General and composite. Guys, I'm literally going to my wits ends for you today. I just looked at how long my last video was, and it says outro 133. I just seen a lot of 33s. And we have the eclipse coming up. And I just got a message. I'm not this person, by the way. There's only a few numbers that are important to me, like really two. 1110. It's on my book. My book is called Pisces Live 9 Lives. I wrote many years ago during my Saturn return. It's not about astrology. It's not about me either. A little bit about me. But yeah, like someone important to me sent me like a message a few nights ago, like about like what's happening now, and like it was like some channeled thing about like if you're seeing 333 a lot right now, that means that you're being divinely protected or something like that. And I saw it. I look at those things. I don't judge them. I just like don't necessarily just like think like, okay, that's true for everyone. But then sometimes I do wonder, like, well, is there a synchronicity in me seeing this at this time and actually reading this thing, right? Because it's not like I read those types of things all the time. Okay, so Jupiter. As we talked about before, Jupiter Moon, Jupiter Venus, Jupiter expands everything. So Jupiter's role is optimism, happiness, adventure, philosophy, travel, anything is possible energy. So if it's conjunct the sun, moon, or Venus, Mars in synastry, it's a big deal, because you're uplifting that, the Jupiter person is uplifting that person. And of course, we already said moon, right? So it's the same thing for sun. I literally like have had this, I have this, you could say. And it's, Jupiter on sun and Mercury. And it's like, everything is positive. You just want to go on more adventures. You're in such a good mood. You are almost like their teacher in a way if you're the Jupiter person. And then, oh no, the Jupiter person. It kind of goes both ways, I guess, because like if your Jupiter is conjunct someone's like sun or important planets, like you could actually look at them as like, okay, well, they were meant to be my teacher, right? But it can kind of go both ways. But it just adds like a lot of very altruistic and just pure positive energy. Now the question is, once again, a lot of people like to have a mix of, naturally, if everything's so light, I don't know. Does it give that? It's different for everyone, especially like where they are in life. But definitely, there's a certain ease that Jupiter gives, and of course that encouragement part too. And then just like another thing I've noticed is that it just makes you lucky around that person. Like you tend to make more money. You tend to have like a better aura. People tend to notice you looking better. People tend to notice you have like a little twinkle in your eye, right? And you might have more opportunities come your way that are relevant to things you want in life. So, yeah, and more open to new experiences. So, in composite, Jupiter is, like good Jupiter is like laughter, optimism, and resilience in the relationship, like a well-placed Jupiter. Like in the Vedic tradition, also, I forgot to say, like a woman's Jupiter is said to symbolize the man she'll marry or the kind of man she'll marry. So I've never like fully taken that to heart, but I definitely have seen like some I definitely seen some women, who have their Jupiter conjunct like, their husband's like sun or ascendant or moon or Venus or something like that. But yeah, it really does make you feel, if someone's Jupiter's on one of your planets, like you're unstoppable, like you have wings. And then like a strong composite Jupiter, like let's say it's like on your sun or on your Mercury or your Venus, like it can just keep you having that sense of something, a larger purpose, or sense of humor. If it's in a good house, like second house can be great for money. Fourth house can give a very nice home environment. Fifth house can give very good sex and very good, just like, being able to have fun together. Seventh house, obviously, very good relationship and learning a lot together. And then water houses also can be on an esoteric kind of more vulnerability like level, and a lot more than that. Inheritance, eighth house, ninth house, obviously amazing, like just in learning a lot together, traveling. 10th house, career. I don't keep going. I could keep going, could keep going, but this video would be too long. Okay, so then there is the Descendant. So the Descendant is the 7th house cusp, and this is very important because it shows like what we seek in a partner. So I'm going to talk about this in a few different ways, right? So if someone's Jupiter lands on your Descendant, because like that is like what your type is. So they feel like your type. One second, hold on. Okay, sorry about that. They feel like your type. If it's Venus on the Descendant, it's just like a lot of charm. It's almost like irresistible. Like you really are attracted to that person. And yeah, I think I've seen Jupiter on the Descendant. It's like, yeah, the ideal partner. So if your sun falls on the sun conjunct this Descendant, there's that admiration. Just any conjunction, just because the Descendant represents the other, you could just imagine if one of your important planets fell on someone else's Descendant, that you would represent the other for them. It's just logic. With that said, I do see it manifest, see a lot of compatibility where there's not this element, but things happen in different ways. Also, we like a lot of people tend to have like had multiple relationships through their life, and you can like look at different partners and see how this partner filled this, work because of this, and filled this part of your chart, but didn't fill this. This partner filled this, but didn't fill this. So that's like something I do with clients sometimes too, is like from the natal, then break down, compatibility of different partners. Usually, I've only done that like 2 times, where we've gone in and like looked at tons of different partners and seen like kind of how they worked and how they didn't, and then how like what's most important, what they're really looking for in the future. I could do that more though, but yeah. So yeah, then like obviously like, yeah, Moon and Mars can add that attraction, that connection, and that emotional groundedness. And but yeah, I think Venus and Jupiter on the Descendant are definitely the strongest from my experience. And same with the composite chart. If you have a 7th house in a composite, 5th house too. 5th house is like an 8th house, right? And they're very relational. But 7th house obviously is like the house of marriage. Like if you have a lot of planets there, it's only good news, right? It depends what planets actually ship. But even planets like Saturn, you'd be like, oh shit, it's not good, but then they end up getting married. So you never know. but I do definitely see a lot of relationships that have like a ton in that like descendant area. Sometimes interestingly, like you'll have like a bunch of planets in one area, and it'll be like the descendant will be right here, and then all the planets will be like some in the sixth, some in the seventh, but like all in that area. I see that a lot of times. Um, there's also the ruler of the descendant, but I'm not really going to get into that right now. Because to me, if you look at your natal chart and you look at like my descendant, seventh house cusp is 28, nearly 29 Aquarius, meaning that it's ruled by Uranus in the fifth house. Just an example, right? So to me, if you ask me, okay, well, Jesse, what does that mean? Well, it's like, okay, well, I have Uranus conjunct Neptune and also Saturn in the fifth house. So it means that I tend to, look for more unconventional, types of girls, right? And that they come at very random times, Uranus, right? Um, and, I might meet them when I'm having fun. Like maybe I'm at a concert, maybe, um, or like more or less, like I would say with the fifth house, it's like they might have like some Leo element. They might have some artistic talent. There might be something we have in common in terms of music taste, or being able to be like the inner child energy together. But like the Uranus would make it like come really quickly, or like it would make it like things start. It would basically be like life, boom, the thing starts, right? That's how I describe the ruler natally. So it's kind of hard to like, I mean, I could be like, well, yeah, I can look at my ruler of my descendant and see, if there's any, if someone has any planets conjunct that. But like, no, I wouldn't go that far. Anyways, still a few things to talk about. So let's go to house overlays. My eyes are looking very. Yeah, you can tell I've been recording. Not just recording. Um, I spent so long preparing both of these videos. You have no idea. I've never spent so much time. Like I literally. So I don't the way I use AI is I only use it for dictation. Here's a little spiel. Like I only use it like because I don't want it to, I don't trust AI with astrology. So imagine how much I have to like repeat myself, and then there'll be so many like where I'm like, okay, like write this exactly like this, because it's more of like it's a dictation app for me, right? And then it will be like ChatGPT did not capture what you just said. And I'll be like, oh my god! Like so the amount of times where I was like building this outline for these, like I have 4 videos that I made, right? The first one was nearly 100 minutes, and then this one is already 46. But like, just hear me out, guys. I have to fucking vent for a second. Like the amount of times today that the ChatGPT said, after like me talking for 10 minutes straight, didn't and just saying like really on point, like feeling so good about what I said, like please, and just praying, please don't screw up, please don't screw up. I'd say probably 50% of the time it lost it, and I had to redo it. I had to suck it up and redo it, and I was at my wits end. There's this last one. I was like, if this doesn't go through, because I stopped doing the 10 minutes. I was like, okay, I'll just like after 5 or 6 minutes I'll hit send. And there's the last one. I was like, if this doesn't go through, because I've repeated this 3 times now, like I'm done. Like I'm just gonna, I can't do this, and it went through. Thank God. So, anyways, but still, like it's like even this one isn't exactly like I told it exactly what I wanted to write, and it's just this one is like not how I want it. So I'm ending up like having to like improvise anyways, which I would do, but like I did give some ideas, like say this for that. Anyways, whatever. Okay, so okay, house overlays mainly fifth, seventh, eighth. So yeah, so when there's a lot of like fifth house overlays, right? Someone falls in your fifth house, or you fall in their fifth house. It's just very a fun type of attraction, right? Like you tend to see each other as your physical ideal, and um, it makes physical touch very, very good, almost like a drug. It can be short lived because fifth house, it can be, it depends on what's there. It's very exciting, and you're able to bring out the inner child in each other, and be, and just have a lot of Leo fun. Um, Now, then with the seventh house, obviously, like that is as good as it gets because, I mean, if you have planets falling in someone's seventh house, that seventh house represents, partnership for them, right? It represents like what they, look for in a one-on-one romantic, mostly relationship. So, um, yeah, so that in a sense is definitely sacred, and you see that a lot. It's partnership energy, right? It's that make it official kind of energy, Venus energy. Now eighth house overlays, that's a lot different, a lot different. Eighth house, there's a lot of deep and intense emotions, right? This is the Scorpio house. So now I already talked about this in my last video, but you can kind of feel like you were meant to be together. Um, if like your plans, you especially like people who have stelliums, or who date people who have stelliums, or just important planets. There's like, yeah, this meant to be energy, this karmic dynamic. This, it can be very obsessive, like kind of like Venus-Pluto, where you hate being separated. Um, being obsessed with each other. Kind of a lot of times you know each other's secrets, right? And it makes the breakup very, very tough. But ultimately, it does lead to like that transformation. So yeah, like so, and then there's, you could say that with every house. I could do a video of every house, right? Like first house, what about like if it's mostly 10th house? It doesn't mean that the relationship's doomed, especially like if we talk about like a composite chart, right? If there's like an abundance of energy in certain houses, it might be like, like that you guys are meant to, that there's great romance, but you guys are like, let's say like a lot of 10th house energy, but you guys are meant to help each other with your guys' like careers and dharmas and purposes in life, right? So yeah, so one I didn't talk about, I don't think, did I talk about Venus, Pluto, um, conjunction, trine, sextile, even some of the tougher ones? Let's just talk about that for a sec. Um, okay. Um, so obviously, like, the word dedication and transformation comes to mind when you bring those two together, right? Lots of passion. Um, there is usually this element of the shadow and awakening the other person's shadow, but there's this epic sensuality. Like Venus feels very awakened by Pluto, right? And it's if these people are ready, they've done the inner work. This can be like a very empowered and like life changing relationship that has that extra fiery kick to and that attraction is, it's like a very healing, magnetic, like karmic attraction that helps both partners get through, overcome different fears, and become, and kind of get overcome their shadows in a way. And the sex is very, 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 very good, like almost like spiritual, transcendental, and yeah. So just being seen, like I had one client who had this type of aspect. She said that something about like how the guy made her feel beautiful in ways that she had never, like that no one had ever made her feel like beautiful in, right? Like she's just feeling that safety, and that depth, and just like the two souls becoming one energy. So yeah. And then um I know I talked about Venus. No, so okay, and then also another huge one, whether it's in a composite chart just natal is Sun conjunct Venus. So obviously, like, I see this so much in composite charts where you see Sun conjunct Venus, and it's like, of course, and what are the odds that that would happen? So there's just this like mutual admiration. This set like in the composite charts, like the Sun, the purpose of the relationship, right? Venus is love, so there's this natural feeling of love. But in Synastry, the Sun person feels adored, and the Venus person feels very, very validated, very kind of illuminated, like lit up by the sun. And yeah, there's just like this. It's kind of like that masculine feminine dynamic, right? Like of Mars Venus, just differently. It's kind of like the same thing with Moon and Mars, right? It's just a different. They're different yin yangs. So yeah, like it's just like the Venus. When you're when like the Venus person, the Sun person will love. The Venus person will love how the Sun person expresses themselves, how they are naturally, right? And then the Sun person is going to feel is going to feel that love, right? And there's that warmth that it doesn't really matter where it comes from, it creates something, and when you see the best, and it's kind of like having a seventh house Sun or Venus in general, right, natally. When you have that, when you see the best in someone else, they tend to see the best in you. So okay, just about done. So we have 2 more things, or 3, 4. Okay, just a few. So let's talk really briefly about Juno. So Juno conjunct personal planets. So Juno is an asteroid that I look at and have for a long time. I named a dog Juno before I knew astrology. That it was a Samoyed white dog, and it represents like what we look for in marriage, partnership. And I've always kind of looked like really respected it, even though it's it's just rang true for me in many different instances. Not just me, but in many charts. A lot of times it's men though, I've noticed, where in their charts I'm like, oh, but sometimes in women too. But I read more women's charts than men's charts. But anyways, when someone's Moon, Ascendant, Venus, and Mars is conjunct your Juno, it's like marriage material, right? So if in a composite chart, like if Juno is like with Venus or Jupiter, it's very good commitment energy, and it's kind of like it's the kind of person that you would settle down with long term. So if you look at what your natal Juno is, you might be really attracted to that person. So this marathon. So next let's talk about the Sun. So the Sun. So you guys might be wondering, how did I spend so long without talking about the Sun? Well, basically this, like, people with any 2 sun signs can date each other. It's not as central as the Moon or Venus. It definitely matters. There are definitely sun signs like combinations that marry each other a ton. But obviously the Pisces, Scorpio, so many of those. The Virgo, Taurus. There's a lot more, but like those are the 2. Capricorn, Virgo. I feel like the Earth signs kind of stick together a lot. Cancer, Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Aries, Leo, Aries, Sag. I don't know. You see a lot of these, and so yeah. So if they're 4, if your sun sign is in the same element, right, like 4 signs away, very good, right? And if it's 2 away, sextile, also really good. If it's square, don't, like you're in Aquarius and the person's a Scorpio sun, don't act, don't, it's not the end of the world. Or if it's opposite, um, don't, like opposite suns can be great, right? If there's other things, right? Because they complement each other. It's like the axis. Um, so yeah, it adds a lot of potential admiration, but it shouldn't be looked at how it is. That's kind of why I'm making this point. It's very important, the sun, but it shouldn't be overemphasized. So like I've like you can see any sun sign um, connection. So next we have probably speed run these. Saturn. So basically, so Saturn is the glue. Basically, like people look at Saturn in a bad way, whether it's in your synastry and your composite. Saturn contacts often show restrictions early on, like whether it's like Saturn square Venus or even Saturn conjunct Venus or Saturn the Sun or Saturn conjunct Sun, Saturn on the seventh house cusp of the composite. Like, but don't be afraid of it because a lot or like a lot of Capricorn planets in the composite chart, right? It can be more traditional and more serious, but they can get if they can get past the initial BS, the restrictions, sometimes that like feelings of slowness, of coldness, whatever. Um, they are the people who get through all the BS, all the fights, all the storms. So a lot of marriages, like Saturn and Venus, that's like marriage energy, right? Saturn, because Saturn gets better with time. So if you like lots of Saturn aspects with someone, your relationship might be difficult at the start, but with time, it gets better and better and better and more free because it's a planet of karma. So and, kind of forces you to grow and you might be like very different people in certain ways, but it makes you want to build something that lasts, right? It gives you like more of that, yeah, like yeah, more of that kind of I don't know, that stability. So um, next is parallels. So I need okay, hold on. 240. So okay, the importance of parallels are based on declination, right? So if when you're born, we're looking at how far planets are, if they're basically on the ecliptic, but on this imaginary line. So if they're 90 degrees away, that's a square. That's just longitude. But what if they're not exactly on this line? Some are a little bit higher, some are a little bit lower. So if like two planets, let's say, are 46 degrees away on longitude, so they're or like let's say 53, like it's not any aspect, right? Or 56. But one is like plus 12 and the other one's plus like also plus 12, right? Then if they're within like a degree, they are parallel. And so for example, like with I know someone who just had like met a new girlfriend, and they have sun, like some of their best aspects are sun parallel moon, which is like kind of like having sun conjunct moon, and then a Venus parallel ascendant, right? So it just adds like that instant chemistry, and it kind of explains so much that wasn't explained before that. So finally, we'll talk about elemental balance. So basically, you want to have of the four elements. With the so in a composite chart, for example, they flow best when there's a balance of elements, right? It doesn't have to be, but if there's too much of one element, like too much of fire, it could be burnout. Too much of water, you can be drowning in the emotions. All air, it's too mental, not enough real connection. All earth, it's too practical and a little bit over, like repetitive, right? So they're not deal breakers, but it's something that should be looked at too, especially like in a natal chart. If one person is missing an element, like I'm missing earth, it might be better for me to have a composite chart that has some earth in it, or to have a girlfriend that has or wife that has a little bit of earth, even though I never never do. Um, so all right, so I wasn't happy with the way that I ended my video, so I wanted to redo a few things at the end. So mainly, I want to talk about one concept I forgot to bring up that I was planning on bringing up, which is not. So I want to talk more about the elements, and I hope I made myself very clear about the declinations, but also the importance of so if there's two people, right? Um, that have a composite chart. Everyone, you have a composite chart with everyone that you ever meet. A lot of times you have to like look at each natal chart and then look at the composite, and you'll see that a lot of times the composite will naturally benefit one person more than the other. I've seen it so many times. So you'll wonder like why in some relationships like does it feel like one person, whether it's you who are experiencing it or you who it's not just likes the other person more, but there's more of like a more of an ease, and it's because the composite chart is the energetic baby of the birth chart, right? So, or of what happens when the two people come together in each other's aura. That's the composite. So, if the composite, let's say like one person, let's just give him my chart. Why not? Pisces Sun, Sag Moon, Leo Rising, Aquarius Venus Mars, Pisces Mercury. We'll just start with the inner planets, Jupiter, Cancer. Let's say there's a girl who has, Taurus Sun, Moon in Gemini, Ascendant in Cancer. We'll just do them all back to back. Leo, Venus, and Mars, and let's say Virgo. What did I say? Sun was Taurus. Yeah, and Jupiter in I don't know in Capricorn. What like obviously like the composite is the calculation of the midpoints of all these planets, right? But like let's just pretend, regardless of any like actual calculations of that, that the composite chart had like this person's very like Earth heavy with with some air, and did I say Cancer or with some I guess they have a little bit of everything. Okay, bad example. Okay, let's just say that the other person is a ton of Capricorn and Virgo and I don't know, Cancer, but mostly Earth. If the chart, right, if the composite shows like the sun in um let's say Aries, which gets along with my Sagittarius moon, and then the moon ends up in Scorpio, right? Which is like, me being a Pisces sun. The ascendant's Gemini. It's sextile. Want to get along with well. The Venus is in Aquarius. Or not Aquarius. The Venus, that's my Venus. The Venus is in Libra, right? Where I have mine, and the Mars is in like Scorpio, where like I have an understanding of that planet because I have water energy with my Sun and my Jupiter and my Mercury. Like that's an extreme example, but that kind of thing happens, and that would give a massive that would have me really 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 enjoying the energy compared to the other person. So it's not to say that. So sometimes you'll have that in compatibility relation astrology where you won't understand. You're like, why does one person just like the other person so much more, or feel like have like such a different vision of the relationship of like the relationship or the person or whatever. And when you have that awareness, I feel like it's so helpful because it's like you won't take things personally. You realize that like so there's not like a order of like who is like, you know, like the like best or out of your league. That's just like a stupid human concept. It's just like I always say this to people, it's like I could have a crush on this girl, and this girl could have a crush on my friend, and then the girl over here has a crush on me, but I don't like her back. I like the girl over here, but that girl likes my friend, and my friend doesn't like this girl back, but he likes the girl that likes me that I don't like back. You guys follow that at all? The point is that kind of stuff happens, and it's astrology, it's psychology, it's energy. It's just taking it's there's the need to not take things personal, you know, in this realm. Um, with that said, astrology is an incredible tool when it comes to helping us understand compatibility. And I hope this video and the one I released I made before give you a lot of ideas. I have like two other ones that I you know have in the works, but two was a lot from today. Um, it's a lot more complicated than we think, and you know, but I always want to say, regardless of anything, like you know, most people come to me with compatibility readings of a new, whether it's a new or old relationship, and if it's a new one, there's nothing I can say that's gonna. I'm not gonna tell you like don't try it or don't go forward with it. Um, I'm just going to simply, you know, I'm gonna tell you things, you know, ways that it could go down. Um, and positive or negative, right? Based on your manifestation, based on your free will, based on their manifestation, based on their free will, based on your maturity and how far you've gone in manifesting the higher energy of your chart in your life, and for them too. And you know the environmental factors and the past life trauma and so many factors that go into it. That it's already a lot with one person. So imagine two. It's it can be so hard. So that's why you can't, even if the compatibility doesn't look good, like under awareness is step one, but like what's in your heart, not to be cheesy, like follow your intuition, follow your heart, you know? If someone's a good person and you have the love for them and you love being around them, and it's something that like if you never knew astrology, you would say like I have a crush on this person or something like that. Just follow it, even if the astrology says some things that you never know, right? Even a very tough aspect, maybe you guys both got to a point where it's something you guys resolved that's karmic between you two. And maybe the good aspect, like the fact that you guys have this incredible Jupiter conjunct moon, like maybe that outweighs everything difficult, because it's like at the end of the day, um, you know, you guys love being around each other. And it just erases like even if there's like combativity with like a Mars square Pluto, uh and like you know tough energy with just being very different people, even the moon sign, let's say like there's a Cap moon in a Sag moon, right? um like a Jupiter like that, and an openness to compromise, which is the Aries Libra, axis, right? Like self versus other, a willingness to kind of be there for someone else, or to kind of like not be self, or not only do things that necessarily feel only good for you, to actually like also try new things, and to listen, and to want to to want to have genuine interest in how someone else perceives and experiences in life and what they're interested in. You know, that alone can be a game changer. And that's why opposites do attract sometimes. That's why you do have compatibility readings where, someone comes to me with the perfect chart. Oh my God, it's amazing. I haven't even talked about the karmic. That'll be the next one I do, the karmic one. I still have to fully put that one together. But like, you get what I'm saying? It's like that. Um, Sometimes you just get really surprised, and that's why I will end this by saying, do not allow astrology to define, like, it's just like the whole mystical element of the more I know nothing, right? And you can know all this stuff, you can learn it all, you can have this all in the back of your head. You can, start dating someone in that excitement of understanding their astrology and kind of like that feeling you get of like being like a detective and like already knowing a ton of stuff. Like you don't know how it's going to line up until you reality test it. So yeah, um, pretty happy with this one, with these two, even though these took me all day. So I would appreciate, like, comment if there's anything that you want that you experienced from anything I've said or your reaction. I love to read them. I know I don't reply to them all because I'm working so hard every day. Um, working whether it's learning or writing something new or making a video or whatever, right? So also, guys, please, I do have openings for readings, whether they're natal, which is the primary one, live or recorded. Uh, JesseInnocentAstrology.com. Just book it straight there, and then I'll get in contact with you. Um, we can schedule live ones. It's not a long wait. Right now, I thought I was going to be traveling, so I freed up next week, and I'm actually going to be staying here another month. So I have a lot of, I really have kept my schedule pretty relatively open. So if anyone's interested in that, or I have about two more slots, full slots open for one-on-one teaching, or so if you want to be a student of mine, at, any level, doesn't matter. I have a whole system. We do it in a fun way. We really like. I pay very close attention to you, and I'm not judging you. It's however often you want to do it, and I don't charge an insane amount. I have met someone one time or a few times actually who paid $40,000 or $50,000 for an astrology group course, and they didn't even know what an aspect was. So with me, I sell in packages, but I do also offer pay as you go if someone can commit to the 50 class, which is 50 hours, and that ends up only being $95 for each hour. And an hour with me, I'm not being arrogant here. I'm like, we really, really do it. I cater the study plan to you. You tell me, what, do if you're trying to become a professional astrologer, or if you're not, like you'll still have the tools to be able to really, really use in your life, however you want to use it. And I don't judge at all, very patient. So anyways, that's enough. Um, I'll leave you guys with the sunset at my mother's house. Can't really see. Um, but yeah, guys, insane marathon today, and this is probably one of my favorite videos. These two videos are probably two of my favorite that I've done. So definitely the most preparation I've done. So yeah, all right. Talk to you guys later. Ciao from California. Bye bye.